Since this is the last fag end of the day, I'll try and keep this as crisp as possible. So, Saloni, let's start with you.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Lovely. Can you tell us more about what you and your company does in this space?
Sure. So, hello everyone. Good evening. I am Saloni Jain. I am the founder of a very new venture capital fund, which is called Sunicon Ventures and not Sunicon Ventures. That's the first note I would like to start on. About me, as a family, we've always been investing in new ideas and upcoming companies. That's been kind of our DNA, and that's what we've been doing as a family for last 40-45 years now. So, right from .com to augmented reality, now blockchain, we always like to work with upcoming technologies. And with Sunicon Ventures also, clearly the vision is to make a very strong community and ecosystem for tech-based startups and the entire investors in India. So very similar to the BSV concept over here, we believe in building community and working together.
Lovely. So you've sponsored this session.
Yeah.
So why did you sponsor this, if I can ask, and why BSV?
So that's a very good question, and we were going back and forth about this. We had a discussion about this. So as a fund, we've been building our thesis on this whole space, right, for last now 1.5 years. So the idea is in India also, like when we talk to our investors and everybody, it's a very trading mentality, like overall. Everyone wants to trade, buy cryptos. But we as a fund wanted to have a very core technology-driven thesis, where we wanted to really work with blockchain technologies, which are really bringing a change in the problems today, right? Because there is inequality, there is lack of trust. So chains which are basically promoting empowerment is what we were looking at. And that's what came across out of BSV. Because we realized that it is like, it is for the people, it is to kind of empower users, and it is sweet on the pocket. So it makes a lot of sense, right?
Lovely.
Yeah.
So can we have Antonio?
Yes, here I am.
Hello, Nino. How are you?
Hello everybody. I'm very well, thank you.
Wonderful.
Very warm regards from Zurich, Switzerland.
Yes. Can you tell us what you do in this space?
We are a VC in the private equity investor house, and by investing through our institutional grade, we go through our pain points ourselves when implementing investments, for instance, FPI or FDI investments into India itself. Hence, we offer select and eligible investors access to our institutional grade investment platform. Therefore, anything which can help us, like blockchain-enabled solutions in the wider asset servicing space, is of extreme interest to us. I think these would be our 2 cents in regards to that. Are you
yes.
able to hear me?
Yes. Osmin, are you with us?
I certainly am. Just
Lovely.
switching on my camera. Hello, hi Kumaraguru, hi everybody.
Yes, we are doing good. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you and your company does in this space?
Sure. So I am the managing director of the Block Venture Studio, and we are a recently created arm of the Block Dojo, which is now the Block Dojo Group, and we partner with corporates to build ventures for them. So you could see us as an outsourced innovation arm of a corporate. There are 2 parts to our business. We have our research and development lab, where we experiment, and we also have our incubator, where we execute. And both of these parts work really well together to ensure that the ventures that we build in collaboration with our corporate partners always meet a validated problem, because we will have validated it beforehand in our lab. Now, we work across multiple sectors, from healthcare, regtech. That's not really a sector, but it is definitely a domain of interest. Financial services, of course, entertainment, but we focus, our niche is on blockchain. So this is where we apply all of our expertise as a group of highly experienced innovators who have actually exited their own startups, which became scale-ups multiple times, combined with blockchain expertise from our colleagues.
Okay, so you're a venture studio.
That's right.
So you work with companies and you do proof of concepts for them?
Sure, we do that along with many things. So as I say, we've got the two parts of the business. The ultimate goal really is to help the corporate partners to access a share of equity which is much higher than the initial investment. So they make an investment to seed a startup, which we then form for them. We hire founders to actually build a team around an opportunity, and then we return multiple times in terms of equity that initial investment.
Amazing. So let me say, your clients would be founders, entrepreneurs, and companies like IBM or the likes?
So our clients would be large corporates who have budgets that they have set aside for innovating. But often they have a war chest and they're not entirely sure how to deploy it. They may have an interest in getting involved in what they call Web3 or blockchain, but again, need some support to make that entry. Sometimes they're not always willing to make substantial bets at the beginning, and they need to spend some time exploring the technology. And this is where we work with them, exactly as you said, to create proof of concept, do feasibility analysis, so that when they are ready to actually build an opportunity for themselves, for which they would often take a percentage of equity, then they will have had the support from us in order to do that.
Amazing. So let's move on to Nino. Nino, very straightforward question. Why BSV?
Amongst all the blockchains we're looking at, BSV offers the highest possible scales, and obviously jointly with that, the lowest marginal costs attached onto it. See, for us, the blockchain's biggest advantage is actually its immutability, meaning that the data can't be deleted or edited, which has huge advantages across many fields, right? Not only within our corporate usage itself, when dealing with investments for and on behalf of investors, but also in any other possible kind of verticals. Think about international trade, right? It provides a huge opportunity for more transparency across several industries altogether. Hence, BSV ticks pretty much all the boxes as of now, and on top of it, as recently when we first met, for instance, Kumar in Dubai, we understand now also the cross bridges being built, enabling anyone who might already have been investing or using the blockchain, any other blockchain than BSV, is now enabled both ways to interact with each other. And I guess that will be pretty much the future.
Amazing. So Saloni, I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I would like to have your money. What do I do?
You have to come. You have to make your pitch. You have to be passionate about your idea.
Okay.
You have to be hardworking. Your problem should make sense to us. Most importantly, we should be able to add value apart from money to kind of go on board with you and go ahead in the journey.
So you're a social investor? Can I call you that?
Why would you call me that?
You look for people who solve social problems, is that?
No, not really.
Okay. So give me 3 points that are 3 tick marks that I'll need to take to get your money.
So the 3 important tick marks for Sunicon Ventures will be, most importantly, the idea, right? What are you trying to do? How disruptive it is? And does it resonate with our thought process in terms of, being able to solve this problem in a country like India with the existing ecosystem? Are you on time? Are you before time? All of that. That's number 1. So it all goes around the idea. Second, most importantly, is your team and yourself. So irrespective of, the kind of ecosystem you would have built, but as a team, how efficient are you in terms of doing it? How well thought about the whole idea is? How are you planning to do it? How much work has already been done in the particular domain? So a lot of things, right? A lot of things to revolve around the founder and around the team is what we look at. And the third important thing, which comes from your point of social investors, we are not social investors, but we do look at some positive impact with whatever investment we are making, right? And most importantly, it will be fair to say that we would stay away from companies rather who are making a negative impact on the existing ecosystem. So that's the way we look at it.
There's a stigma nowadays with young entrepreneurs that when we approach VCs, that the VCs might ask us to pivot. The term used is pivot. So what are your thoughts on that?
See, firstly, if I want you to pivot from your idea, then why do I have to invest in you? I will find somebody with that idea, right? I am not a believer of the concept that you find a founder who is efficient, give him an idea or a problem to solve and make him solve it. That's not how it should work. The person whom we are investing in should be passionate about that idea. But after I have invested, let's say a couple of years have passed and things are not going correct, and maybe there is an alternate way to save the money, save the capital, save the company. That could be a slight pivot in the way you are functioning or the way you're selling your product. That is what VCs actually do, right? They try and become a part of your journey to make sure that your boat does not sink at least.
Sure. Nino, can you answer that question?
That is the billion-dollar question, right? I would say it's not that much different than the traditional way how to look at MoneySwipe, for instance, if we were to invest into. It starts with the market size, right? Whatever market size would be around, that would be the first metric or the first quants we want to look at. Second one would be anything which you can subsumize under value capture. How much, the ability to retain value from transaction, for instance. And last would be a mix of risk items, right? The technology risk, the execution risk, but also to come to one very important point, specifically if it's a startup company, obviously whatever is HR related, what does it mean? How much trouble would you have or would anyone have in hiring the team they need or is needed in order to bring the product as seamless as possible? Because in the end, it's about payments and transactions. They need to be quicker and they need to be cheaper than anything currently possible through, for instance, in our industry, the SWIFT network. So we have to have an eye on these kind of parameters predominantly. Last but not least, value matters, right? It's all about, and that's a topic which I'm specifically extremely interested into, it's about value creation. So it needs to be how many pain points can a company solve now and on the long term?
Lovely. Osmin, your thoughts on that?
Yes, no, that all makes lots and lots of sense. So from a venture studio perspective, we would look for the opportunity first. Now in our R&D part of the business, in our lab, we have a series, in fact, our director of R&D has a series of what we call template companies, where to support the inquiry of our corporate partners and prospective partners, we help them to understand use cases which are only available and can only be enabled on BSV. So this will help them to sort of make their entry point and help to sort of break that circle of not feeling comfortable making an entry, but then not knowing where to enter, and then having to get some kind of inspiration as to what part of the sort of the blockchain space or Web3 space, or even just the sort of the industry problem domain they can participate in and capture sort of new revenue streams. So our template companies essentially cover the first 3 phases of our incubated program, validating problems, assessing market size, and very, very similar to the metrics that both Nino and your esteemed colleague have referenced as well, so that by the time we get to that stage, we can give them some assurance that they've actually got something with substance to move into.
Okay, so you work exclusively on BSV blockchain?
Yes.
Amazing. So you probably have ideas that you can share with our budding entrepreneurs here?
Absolutely, many ideas. So the examples that I'm about to give make use of the sort of the native BSV use cases. So these are peer-to-peer, microtransactions, notarization, and automation. And the big thing for me is that working on BSV and BSV use cases enable not just human-to-human interaction, but also human-to-computer, computer-to-computer, and even process-to-process ways to exchange value. So if you were to look at the case of microtransactions, this brings in the opportunity to now create models or new business models around micro-consulting, micro-budgeting, and streaming payments so that you only pay as a user for what you consume. The unique thing about BSV is that now you can do this on an incredibly granular level. One particular use case I'm quite fond of is the automation of fiscal liabilities. And I believe that this will be a game changer when businesses and individuals can declare on a per transaction basis. I think the value in this will be the reduction in the need for expensive reconciliation.
Amazing. I think we touched on this today. Since this is the fag end panel discussion, I'm just going to open it to the floor. Does anyone have any questions for our esteemed panelists? Please. Can you please introduce yourself and then ask the question, please?
Thank you. I'm Tanmay from the Metaverse Street Journal. So I have a question more on the broader Web3 economy, right? So as an industry, we have a general consensus that what domain name URLs are to Web 1 and Web 2, Metaverse land is to Web 3. And I would just like to hear the opinions of the panelists on this and how you guys are perceiving that in your deal flows or when you're assessing startups that are coming to you. How do you coach them on how to look at Web 3 as a domain and just hear your opinions on that.
Can I just rephrase that question? So your question is, what's the difference between how VCs are looking at Web 3 versus Metaverse? Am I right there?
Well, the way you look at it is domain name URLs. To what they are to Web 1 and Web 2.
Okay.
There is a consensus that Metaverse land is that to Web 3. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what he's basically trying to ask is our view on how we are looking at Web 3 and Metaverse as a space. Yep. Is that correct? So, I mean, the fact that we are here today is that we are absolutely optimistic about Web 3 as a space. And if we all look at Web 3 as a space, right, it is user is the creator, user is the controller, user is the one which monetizes. What better can happen other than that, right? I mean, for a lot of folks out there, they call blockchain as a sector. For us, it is not a sector, it is a system which is basically impacting every sector. So if you are from any sector in any country, you have to be learning, knowing about the space, you have to be implementing it in your existing system, and you definitely have to be investing in it to make that 50x return, which a VC is out here to make. So I think I've answered your question in a pretty straightforward way that we are extremely excited about the space. We are looking at building a community where all these Web3 metaverse companies can come together, they can help each other. We already have 2 of our metaverse portfolio companies over here. So that shows our thought process.
I'm not sure whether my answer will be very much liked of the gentleman asking the question. See, for us, the metaverse refers to a virtual reality-based kind of parallel internet where users can interact with each other and others, right? That's something we are categorically excluding because we simply don't understand too much and our imagination power is not yet there. So we definitely prefer Web3 over metaverse. Would that be quick enough answer.
Lovely. Osmin, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea in a way to separate Web3 from the metaverse. Although I do think that there are some convergences, and this is where the value of blockchain for me is the real clincher, which is that it creates that convergence between IoT, AI and ML. Of course, we're talking about the metaverse just now, and general sort of connectivity. Now, the thing about the metaverse that I think is often hyped is, why would you want to do things in a sort of a virtual setting that you can do in the real world? What is the value in replicating the real world in these virtual contexts? But actually, we explored with two commercial partners two very interesting applications of the tech, which is where you have unsafe spaces that you would not want to send a human being into, but you could actually now start to simulate. And this is where I think that we could see some really interesting activities happening.
Lovely. So I was asking questions as an entrepreneur. Let me put myself in a VC shoe. How do you go across this jargoning? How do you guys see this jargoning from the use case? Do you guys have systems in place? Do you guys do a lot of conferences? There is a lot of this jargoning happening, and how you guys as a VC, before putting in your money, go through all these concepts.
When you say jargoning means, I didn't
Say
quite
the NFTs, we have every now and then new terminologies coming in,
Yeah.
and how do you get through all these?
So that's what we do full time, right? We research, we read, what's happening. So if you look at a typical VC's day,
Okay.
I would say 30% of the time goes in reading about whatever our sectors we want to look at, new terms, news. Another 30% of our time goes in talking to founders of those sector. So a lot of knowledge comes from you guys. When we are communicating with you, you're going to bounce 4 new terms, and I'm going to immediately Google it and probably ask you. So 60-70% of the time, this is what we're doing. Like balance 20-30% is, our investment meetings, paperwork, all of that. But that's not our primary job. So a lot of these jargons are something we learn every day, and I think that's the fun part of our job as well.
Lovely. The reason why I asked you this question is I've been reading the Bitcoin white paper for quite some time now, and I've read it over and over and again, and I can honestly tell you that I've not grasped the concepts in it.
See, when we are making an investment, you have to understand, right? We are not technology people. Not all of us are. There are some VCs out there who have expertise in technologies, but at least I am not, or our team as such is not. We look at the broader aspect. We look at the fact that what this technology is going to do, what disruption is it going to bring? Does this thesis make sense? And what you are talking about is basically vetting the blockchain, vetting the entire architecture which is written in the white paper, for which I have my technical due diligence partners to do that for me. So if I read a blockchain white paper, it will be more from an application perspective rather than the perspective that how sound this architecture in totality is.
So you have a team for that?
Yeah.
Lovely. Osmin, your thoughts on that?
Same. I mean, for us, it's really about solving a problem. And meeting a need that a significant portion of the particular domain that we're looking at actually experience. And so we tend to sort of look past a lot of the jargon. It's quite good for starting conversations, but at the end of the day, there may be situations in future with a lot of the products that need to go out into the market where the user might not even know that they're using blockchain. So, it's a bit like Google Mail. You don't really care what the cloud infrastructure looks like. All you know is that you can send unlimited emails. So we see some of the applications of blockchain being very sort of similar, and a lot of the guts at the moment are out. And so I think that's sort of a reason why there's so much hype, because a lot of those elements of the guts are, I think, maybe overemphasized in the sort of public discourse. But once we actually start and continue to build products that actually meet people's needs with a great customer experience, that's what's going to be the sort of the primary deciding factor.
Amazing. Nina, your thoughts on that?
One of the advantages not being a native English speaker is that you're confused by language. So we tend to be very, very specific, and we want to understand whatever kind of abbreviation or jargoning, as you were referring to, would be attached to a principal idea. See, the power of a solution comes out of bringing a product and bringing clients to pay for. So, as also Osmin and also Sonali were mentioning onto it, in the end, I think the technology in itself, unless you would be betting on L1 type of business models, should not be in the center of the discussions. We tend to be a bit bothered, to be honest, when somebody bombards us with meaningless one jargoning or one abbreviation after the other. It's like name dropping or these kind of things. I'm principally interested in who Sonali is, who is Osmin, who is Kumar. I don't care what shoes you wear. I care about the steps you take. So the simpler you can put it together, the more you can express your ability to showcase that there is no better solution other than yours, and there is no better person or team to solve the problem you're relating to, the better. Unless you're a journalist and you make a living out of it, that's a different topic, right? So I want to see, or we want to really understand, and as Osmin said as well, and Sonali as well, we are not tech-savvy people, otherwise we would be sitting there and asking for, a humble contribution in order to further develop a business model. We need to understand. Maybe one of the topics or one of the words which could play a role in future time, as from today, would be an embedded solution within a broader perspective. One of the, again, jargoning, right, is embedded finance in my space. What Osmin said, you would be interacting with an app and you wouldn't even know what kind of technology is behind. What you're looking at is to be able to be onboarded as fast as possible and as reliable as possible to make use of such an app. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So I see you have an Indian flag behind you there. Can you talk?
That's my little excuse, not being able to be there and commingle in person. So I thought, since Switzerland has sent 2 years ago already greetings all over the world, I thought this is my humble contribution to send you a picture of the India flag actually being pictured on the Matterhorn in Switzerland. Awesome. So my very warm regards with having said that to all attending the conference.
Thank you. Can you talk to us a little bit about your connection with India?
I've landed very early 2000s in India itself. I'm an Italian-born person, but I was educated and had blessings of being born in Switzerland and raised ultimately. So the first time I landed in India was in Mumbai, and it was for a business purpose. But for me, it felt like being back, seeing my aunties and my relatives, my family in Sicily. That's the place I'm originally from. There is life on the street. There is a degree of organization which you have to be very open, because it's multidimensional and multifaceted, which means that everything you believe you have understood about a specific order, how an economy or a business or a city or a country or actually at the continent, which India is, in my humble opinion, you need to throw away, and you need to open up all your senses and keep up an open eyes and open mind. That's where I came across. And then the very first food I had that I will always remember is obviously pani puri. So that's the very first dish I usually get when I land in India, whether it's in Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, or whichever city welcomes me to see and go for business purposes. And jointly with that, obviously, we're a long-term, almost a 2-decade FPI and FDI investor into India itself.
Lovely. Thank you for that. We are joined by Anup. We know Anup is from eSamudaay.
Yeah, I'm
what are you doing on the VC panel?
So I'm wearing a different hat now. In the morning I spoke about eSamudaay. There's another company that I'm a fund sponsor in, a VC company, an angel fund, where we are trying to use blockchain to improve the way fund flows happen in the VC industry. Typically in the VC industry, a VC would go and get a lot of LPs, and their typical target would be to get the next round and create a next fund and so on, right? Which is a sort of a hurdle for VCs, and managing more money is the goal, right? I mean, typically for VCs. We've come up with a model called the meta fund model in a company called AngelWise. So AngelWise is a network of funds which takes a singular thesis, and then each one is a separate fund, and it's managed by a separate fund manager. Each one of them manages 10, 20, 30 crores, whatever the SEBI guidelines say. And we as a network help them get the licenses, help them get the thesis. We help them with the curation of the startups. As a network, we find opportunities. So the advantage of this model is that you can come together with a large fund if one of your portfolio companies need it, but you can also be small enough to care for the companies that you invest in. Typically, as the fund sizes grow up, you can't give enough attention to the companies that you onboard. So we've come up with a network model where it's a blockchain that's running it, right? So we've got two blockchains. One is for the source of funds, and one is for the deployment of funds. And each one is creating a level of transparency for one for the LPs, and a second for the companies and the portfolio managers and so on. So it's like a network of funds called a meta fund. That's something that we are, let's say, we think we are innovating out of India. We're all operators. I mean, we're all business operators that have created this network and trying to focus on every district of India. I mean, every district of India needs that focused attention. How are we able to now find different opportunities in those districts and invest, right? So that's the VC hat. I also do angel investing, mostly in embedded finance. I'm a fintech guy, so I do investing in embedded finance and the future of work in general. I invest in themes around the future of work.
And how does that relate to blockchain?
Embedded finance is more, which one? The Meta Fund is a blockchain.
Yes.
So Meta Fund is completely a blockchain fund.
Okay.
So the entire fund is run on two blockchains, like I mentioned. So yeah.
No, but I think his question was that would all these funds who are a part of Meta Fund be investing in blockchain companies only?
So as investors, we take, including the Web3 world, right? So I see, personally, I see technology as being a transition. I look at what problems is it solving in the real world, right? Hyping a single technology at a particular point in time might give you some return in the short term. So we are looking at what real world impact is that business going to create. And over the longer term, how is it actually going to impact the community, right? So because as investors, we tend to want to believe that we are in there for the long term, and we want to see that value of the money reaping benefits in the community. So think of it as an old style banking kind of an approach in the VC world, right?
So I think our time's up, but I'll finish with final thoughts with our panelists, if you want to start.
The opportunities right now, I mean, looking at India specifically, I think opportunities are both in the Web3 world and in the future of work, and anything that empowers communities, which is a mixture of blockchain and regular internet technologies. There are a number of opportunities that are coming up. I think what VC operators or investors need to do is, one, look to find the teams that have got the passion to succeed. I mean, I just look for that. I mean, is the idea big enough to change the world? Is the person who's talking about the idea passionate enough to be able to change the world? Right? I mean, and then back them, right? And back them fully.
Lovely. Nina, your final closing thoughts?
Backed by the India's digital stack, I think there is no other country ideally positioned to make total and full-blown use of what the blockchain can deliver. So it boils down to the imagination, unbiased imagination part, because determination and hardworking people I've only met over the last 2 decades, exactly this kind of people. So we need young, bright minds, and that's also a reason why I like the BSV ecosystem. It attracts a lot of bright minds like you're good yourself and everyone else attending online or offline this summit.
Osman?
Totally agree with Nino's last sentiment. India's put itself in a unique position through its own efforts. And that I really like the phrase digital stack, because that's quite analogous to what's going on in the BSV space, where a lot of infrastructure is being built out at a rapid rate. And there is an incredibly high degree of expertise present in India that would actually allow it to take advantage of the opportunity to expand that plumbing that the world would use to transact in future. So let's assume that there is a gold rush that is actually underway right now, and that makes India uniquely placed to sell shovels as well as digging for the gold itself.
Lovely. Saloni, final closing thoughts?
Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening to all of us. And I think we have a vibrant ecosystem in India. We meet a lot of entrepreneurs trying to solve real problems. I think the problem still lies, especially in this blockchain space, the problem is more on the investors' side in India, because ironically, like I always say, a technology which was built to solve a problem of trust has got a problem of trust amongst the investors. I would urge the investors rather to spend time in understanding the actual use cases rather than just calling it a crypto bubble. Spend some time learning and investing in good companies, and we are all there to work along with the investors. So that's my final appeal, more to the investor community than the startup community. Yeah.
There's too much opportunity. I think you rightly said, Saloni. I think when you these bubbles and all of that, we have to look beyond it. Because these technologies, decentralization technologies, are here to stay. The internet is, Moore's law and edge computing, everything is IoT and all of that. Networks, proliferation of networks is here. Blockchain and distributed ledger is the future. I think we need to look at use cases that solve problems and teams that are solving it, consistently, right? So, more power to you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you.